Joining me today in the Brilliant Minds Bunker is former Royal Air Force fast jet pilot, entrepreneur and motivational speaker, Mandy Hickson. Welcome to the bunker, Mandy.
Thank you very much, Alice.
I wanted to start by saying a huge congratulations on publishing your first book, An Officer Not a Gentleman. Great title, may I say. What an achievement. Oh, she's got it. You've got it there.
Do you mean this one? Yes. Sorry, very exciting. We only published it on Wednesday, so I finally received my first copy yesterday in the post, which was very exciting.
Fantastic. So let's just start with that. Can you just tell me a little bit about it?
Yeah, so it's been a labour of love, I'll be brutally honest. I've worked really closely with a great friend as well, so we could really get it out there. He's a writer and a journalist as well, so working closely with someone else that's got a really attuned set of skills pertinent to that was perfect. And it's been brilliant. It's been really exciting. It's lovely, like reminiscing, going back over all my memories for it as well. And it's basically a journey that takes the reader on all the highs and the lows and obstacles, challenges, but some real highlights. It's quite funny. It's very entertaining, and it's very easy to read.
I know when we talked about it before that you were very keen to make sure your voice and your tone of voice came across in that book. How well is that done, as it were?
Yeah, I think we've really nailed it, actually. Everyone that's read it so far has literally said, I can hear you speaking off the page. So all I need to do is get an Audible book out there now, and you will literally hear me speaking off the page.
Fantastic. Now, look, in addition to obviously book writing, you spend an awful lot of time talking to audiences about what you've learned from your experience in the Air Force. How easy do you find it to embody what you talk about in your day-to-day life?
Well, to be honest, I find it really easy. I think, so much of what we do is about role modelling good behaviour. And it's so important to be true to yourself. In fact, I think it was before I'd even started speaking, I came to an event that, Alice, you were actually hosting. And Alan Chambers was one of the speakers. And he came off the stage and I said, how do I do it? How do I become a speaker like you, Alan? And he said, just be yourself. And I thought, there's got to be more to it than that. But actually, he was very true in what he said. And there's nothing more frustrating than meeting somebody or seeing somebody on a stage and then you meet them in person and you're disappointed. So it's about living your values. And, the things I talk about on the stage, things like the leadership, but being a great role model is very important to me. I've been a reservist with the Royal Air Force for 8 years after leaving the Air Force. I finally gave that up last Christmas. I'm a trustee at the Victory Services Club, which is a wonderful organisation, a club in London, private members club, but open to all services and all ranks. And that's been a huge honour to serve on that committee as well, as a trustee.
Now, I know you've recently delivered some virtual training around debriefing in the corporate sector. Can you tell me a little bit more about your experience of debriefing and how you do this well in a business environment?
Yeah, absolutely, Alice. Well, to me, it's so important. So it's something that's our bread and butter in aviation. You brief and you debrief. And I think a lot of businesses don't debrief to a particularly high standard. And in fact, it's one thing that often gets lost in the whole, well, we just don't have time. But if you don't make time, how are you ever going to learn the lessons for the next event or the next project? And it's something that some of the blue chip companies that we've been working with have really wanted to hone down and to give them some structure around debriefing. It's been really powerful. It takes the emotion out of it. You really start with a timeline with facts, and then you wheedle it down to get to the cure at the bottom, which is what people are wanting to take away with them as good learning points. It has been incredibly well received. In fact, of any training program I've ever been involved in, the feedback that we have received from this one has been 4.9, or I think it was 4.8 out of 5 we got across over, I think, 360 odd delegates over many, many courses. And it's been brilliant, all done on Zoom, all done on virtual learning, and that is amazing to say that. In fact, I found it more powerful actually using this medium as a training tool than I have done sometimes in the classroom.
And why is that? Because I know some people really struggle with this, but that's really refreshing to hear.
It is. In fact, it really opened our eyes. And that was one of the feedback points that we got, was that people loved the fact that All the members of that group were all on a very flat, there's no hierarchy. You know, you're not sitting next to someone that's really high up in the company and therefore you feel you can't speak up. You know, when you're virtually removed from them, there's that level of separation. And also as a facilitator, I have found it fantastic to use it because you can see who's taking part. You know, you can direct questions, make sure everybody has a voice. And it's really come to fruition that the companies we've been working with are blue chip companies. You know, it really embodies their culture of that speak up culture, challenging authority, but in the right way, and enabling every single person to have a voice, which is what's come out of that training as well. And in fact, one of the flip sides is that as we've been discussing things with all of the leadership team in these companies afterwards, they haven't been talking about the course. They've been talking about debriefing and how it's already been embedded into their culture, which is really exciting.
Now, last October, I know you were invited to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. Amazing. Can you tell me a little bit about the motivation behind that challenge?
Yeah, well, a really good friend of mine asked me, and she said, Mandy, we're going to do a trip up Kilimanjaro. Do you want to come? And I immediately said, no, I can't. I'm a mum. I'm working. I've got too much on. She said, Mandy, practice what you preach. Really good point. But it also really brought home to me, Alice, that I had really missed being part of a team. The camaraderie that you have in the military is second to none. And really, I hadn't been part of that sort of team environment for a long time. So when she asked me, once I cleared it with the powers that be at home, my husband and my children, you know, they said, go for it. It was the best experience, you know, hands down of my life. 20 women, different walks of life from, you know, many different countries as well. And, you know, it reminds you of what it's like to be resilient as well, to work in a team, to, you know, bond. Like, I don't think I bonded with a group so well as though we did in that team. The support was unbelievable.
And what were the other people that you did it with? You say they all came from different walks of life. Had anyone done anything like it before, or was this an enormous challenge for everyone?
I think it was an enormous challenge for everyone. We had one lady who was a doctor on the course. She'd actually, on the trip, she'd actually tried to climb Kilimanjaro many years earlier and hadn't made it because of altitude sickness. So hers was a bit like putting that demon to bed. She did summit, which was wonderful. And yeah, there was only really the girl that asked us, Shadi, who actually is an adventurer and explorer, and she's a really aspirational lady as well. I love Shadi. You know, she'd done quite a lot of mountaineering, so she's starting to you know, tot up the different peaks that she goes to. And in fact, it was really sad. We were due, because it had lit this spark within me, we were due to climb Tubkal in the Atlas Mountains in May last month, but sadly that was obviously cancelled due to the COVID.
Now, I know that your career as you knew it 12 weeks ago has changed significantly due to COVID. And I know you've done a lot of thinking about your career. What advice would you give to people who might be struggling as we emerge from lockdown?
I think it's really interesting. I really went back to the Kubler-Ross change curve, you know, when we look at it. And I think I went through every single bit, the shock, the anger, the frustration, the resignation, the low. And it was when I was at that low point, I thought, Mandy, this is not you. You know, a couple of days of self-pity, you know, and then really get a grip. And actually, as I started to emerge out, I had to look at my business model. You know, events were not going to be happening. And so really, you have to change what you do. So getting really up to date, you know, on things like Zoom technology, on Teams. Obviously, there are many different mediums available. I have to say that. But it's been really quite exciting because I realised that what you can therefore offer clients is, in this period where people are feeling perhaps a bit low, a little demoralised, we've gone through that initial shock, then a lot of people are in this lull at the bottom at the moment. You know, teams really do need motivation to come out of it. And actually having that ability to reach someone in their office, like you and I are, it's really powerful and it can be really intimate. And so you can reach, you know, clients that perhaps you would not have had the opportunity to speak to, but in a very intimate way. It's been brilliant.
And what about people who might have lost their jobs as a result of this or don't have a sense of purpose? What advice would you give to them?
Well, again, when I was at that low point, when I realised that I didn't have a business anymore, you know, 10 years of building a business from leaving the Air Force and it had gone overnight. I looked at my sense of purpose as well, and I felt I was really missing something. I actually contacted Royal Hampshire Hospital here in Winchester, and I managed to get a job as a volunteer in the laundry, which is where I've been this morning. Basically, I fold scrubs. They realised that's a critical point in the system. Getting the scrubs through, they did not have time to send them out to an external laundrette, so they had to wash them on site, and they just did not have the manpower to get them back out to the front line. So yeah, I've been volunteering up at the laundry, washing, tumble drying and folding, and it makes you humble, actually, to realise that it doesn't matter. I always talk about this: be cogs in a part of a machine. It doesn't matter what cog you are. Your job is just as essential as somebody else's, and that really gave me that sense of purpose back that I think I was needing, to be honest.
So, big question: you've written your first book. Are you got another book in you?
Just let me have a little bit of breathing space. Obviously, it took me so long to. I've been talking about getting this book out for ages, Alice, as you know, and it's just so nice to get it out there. I think I'm just going to enjoy the time that I've got now to get out, to talk about it. I used to speak a lot too. I love speaking, actually, at the big county events for like the WI, and they've all got in touch and said, Mandy, can you do Zoom sessions? I'm like, oh, I can. So you know what? It's just nice to be able to enjoy that time of sharing this labour of love. I do think there's a book there that would be much more around the leadership lessons, less about the story, and more really about what I've been doing after leaving the Air Force, which I think could be a really interesting read as well.
Well, Mandy, thank you so much for your time. As always uplifting and energetic. And thank you for sharing some of your book with us. And I'm sure you will enjoy reading those great reviews, and you should enjoy it because I know it's been a labour of love. But thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you face to face when we can.
Thanks, Alice. Great to see you.
Bye.
Bye.